In this episode, we're joined by Jonathan, a father who adopted his son James with his wife Dawn. Jonathan takes us on an open, honest, and heartfelt journey from those very first conversations about adoption through the assessment process, their son coming home, and into life many years later with an adult son. Jonathan opens up about the highs and lows, the unexpected challenges, and the deep rewards of adoption. Whether you're just thinking about adoption or are years into the journey yourself, Jonathan's story offers encouragement, perspective, and a powerful reminder that you're not alone. So, Jonathan, can you tell me a little bit about your family, please?
Hi. Yeah, there's the three of us, my wife Dawn, son James, and myself. James has been with us for some 16 years now.
Wow.
So he came to us as a 5-year-old. So yeah, 21 years of age now, a young
Wow.
young adult. So um, we've experienced adoption. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our next challenges are sort of leading him into young adulthood and the next phase of his life, really.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, we're moving into the next phase of our lives with retirement. So
Wow. It's
it's
all happening.
yes, it is. Yes.
So, I mean, it's going to be casting your mind back quite a bit, but can you tell us a little bit about when did you decide to adopt? What was that
Mm,
whole process like for you?
yeah, certainly. I mean, you say it's casting my mind back. A lot of it is still very, very fresh.
Really?
Because of the emotions involved. Um, we decided to adopt in November 2007. Um, just to give you a little bit of backstory, Dawn is herself adopted, um, and so she knows what it's like as an adoptee. Um, we we got married in the mid 90s. Nature wasn't kind to us in terms of providing us with a natural family. We had been through um, fertility treatment, and Dawn had been pregnant briefly. We lost it, and this was 2003. We decided that the IVF was too much for us and we were going to abandon that. And things carried on pretty well as normal, just the two of us. And then we were watching some media coverage of National Adoption Week, as I say, in November 2007. And I simply turned to Dawn and said, "Do you think we should consider adoption?" And she, without a blink, she said, "Yes."
That decision made? Right.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And yeah, it just came out of that really. Um, and we got our minds round to thinking about it.
Mm.
Um, and then in terms of the process, we started off by making an inquiry to our local authority, um, and we simply didn't feel welcome. I think is
Oh,
probably the best way of putting it. Um, this is a big and emotional thing, or it was a big and
huge.
emotional thing for us,
Huge.
and it felt cold.
That's
Um,
not what you want.
no, um, but we have some friends who um, have two adoptive children. They're grown up as well now, um,
Hey.
and talking to them, they recommended that we went to Father Hudson Society, which of course is the forerunner to Adoption Focus.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's what we did. We made an initial inquiry, and we had a social worker come round and have a chat with us, and we ended up um, on the preparation group in March of 2008.
Why? That wasn't long between November 2007 and starting your training, was
No,
it?
no, indeed.
what was that experience like, coming on training and starting the adoption process?
Um, we really enjoyed the preparation group. I think it's fair to say we went into it fairly naively,
Okay.
simply wanting to create our family.
Yeah.
Um, but we came out of it knowing an awful lot more about children
Mm.
in the looked after system, what they had likely been through, and because of that, wanting to provide an opportunity for one on one.
Oh,
So yeah, it became much more than just us wanting to make a family. It was something that we felt that we could provide and give.
becomes bigger, doesn't it, than creating a family, I think, in a lot of ways. But did it put you off at all in any way? Because I know that it can, for some people, really cause some doubt and worry, and that's natural. But I just wondered if.
I think our rose tinted spectacles continued for a while.
Okay. Okay.
um, yeah, I can remember sitting in the preparation group thinking we won't get one like that,
That
and it
won't be
and
us.
indeed we didn't.
No.
In many ways, but in other ways, yes, we did.
Yeah.
Because all of these children have had um, issues. They all have
Yeah.
backstories, um, and in a lot of cases need a lot of healing.
Yeah.
They've been through an awful lot. Um, and so yeah, we did thoroughly enjoy the preparation groups. We made friends with some of the other participants, and I think that's quite important as well, because you're sharing that journey with them.
Yeah. And they get it, don't they? You haven't got
Yeah.
to explain. Or how did Dawn feel, if she wouldn't mind me asking, but how did she feel on the training, having been adopted herself? Was it triggering for her, or was it okay?
It was okay. Okay. I think you've got to remember that her adoption experience was quite different to
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah.
She was a relinquished baby, so
Oh,
she was actually put into placement at 3 weeks of age. Um, so she not experienced um, any traumas in the birth family at all. And she'd also had a really superb adoptive home, um, and her parents were superb. Sadly, we've lost both of them now, but they were absolutely fantastic.
so we've been on the training. We've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Maybe the rose tinted glasses are still on. We're saying that's okay, but
Yeah,
now you go into your assessment.
home study. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how was that?
So we had 6 months of that, and again, we actually found it very enjoyable. It's it's quite, I think, cathartic in some ways to sit down and explore yourself, and your partner as well, in terms of your strengths and weaknesses. You learn an awful lot about yourself, your attitudes. Um, you look back at the way you were brought up, um, and what you're going to take from that forward into how you would want to bring your child up. There are inevitably things that you would do the same, or want to do the same, and some that you'd want to do differently.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I know that some people feel that it's intrusive, but I don't think there was ever anything that was asked which was unreasonable.
No,
Um,
good.
I don't think it ever crossed the line. Um, but it's important to be very open and honest during that period, because we all have strengths and weaknesses,
Mm,
um, and Dawn's were quite different to mine. Hopefully, between the two of us, we've sort of covered for each other, so to speak.
yeah.
Um, yeah, we had a great social worker, and by the time we got to the end of that period, we regarded her very much as a friend.
Oh, that's
It was
lovely.
a great relationship. and they're on your side.
Mm.
They're there
Yeah.
alongside you to present you to panel as a
Mhm.
potential adopter,
Yeah.
um, and they're there to support you in that.
Yeah. I think that's such a really good point, Jonathan, because nobody wants to come to trip up prospective adopters or
No,
make things really difficult. But there is a purpose to everything that we ask and need to know. But it is to be on your side. That's the whole point of it.
absolutely. And I mean, further down the line, um, you are going to be tested by um, your adoptive child or children, um, and you need to know how you're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
Um, it's not quite a rehearsal, but you need to certainly explore your attitudes to things
Mm.
in advance, and maybe get some tools in your toolkit.
Yeah. Your ever growing toolkit. So you've had your assessment.
Yeah,
You're being presented now to panel.
yeah.
What was that like?
Uh, it was slightly nerve wracking. It's
Okay.
one of these things. I wasn't as nervous as when I took my driving test. I think that's probably
Really?
no, no. So
Okay.
that
That's something to hold on to.
yes, yeah. But they do try to put you at ease. It's a formal process.
Mm,
It has to be, um, but
mm,
they're very good at putting you at ease. Um, I remember being asked a question by one of the panel members that hadn't really got a clear answer, and I came out of it thinking, don't know whether I answered that very well at all. I gave a fairly woolly answer, and it was a question about how you would deal with a teenager that was going off the rails in some way. Um, and I can now say, having had that lived experience,
yeah.
that the answer that I gave was the best I could have given at the time.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
See?
There are no clear um,
There's no rule
answers.
book, is there?
No.
Why? And how hard at that time really to think about the teenage years? I think any parent, adoption or not, when the teenage years hit, thinks, "Oh my goodness, I don't know how to navigate this."
It's a different mindset, and
Yeah,
when you're thinking about infants or relatively young children, then teenagers are the last thing you are likely to be thinking about. But of
absolutely.
course, they will grow,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the challenges change over time. Um, and let's be honest, if you piled all of the challenges into one big heap, you probably wouldn't do
No.
it.
No. I think that's fair to say. I
Um,
think that's
but of
fair.
course, they never hit you all at the same time.
No.
So it's an organic thing. Over the years, it grows. Um, but yes, there are challenges, and it's a lifelong commitment.
It
As I
is
said, as I said at the top, um, we're thinking about the next phases of both our lives now.
adulthood. Why? What was it like family finding, as we call it? So looking for your child or children. How did that all work for you and Dawn?
Um, this was probably the least enjoyable period, I think,
Mm,
due to its uncertainty,
okay.
and it's not bounded by a timetable
No.
like other things are. So sometimes it can be upsetting.
Mm,
Um, you'll read through a lot of profiles of children, some of which you really feel as if you want to help, but maybe can't if their challenges are not within your skill set. Um, it can be quite complicated working out all the different relationships in the various
mm,
profiles.
yeah.
Um, very rare that these children come from nuclear families. But we were relatively fortunate in that it only took 4 months for a
Why?
profile to come to us that we um, we felt interested in. There had been a couple of others, and we'd actually expressed interest and not had a response back from the child social worker. Um, and that's a little bit it's a little bit upsetting, really.
Yeah.
If you even at that stage you just expressed an interest and hear nothing back,
It's
it,
really
it can
disheartening, I imagine.
it can happen. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Can very well be that they're at different stages of their matching with people, and you come to the party late or whatever. So it's understandable.
Yeah. But it is a roller coaster of a time, I think. And that having to be realistic, sometimes you have to say no and it's the right thing for you and for the children. But I suppose that brings a lot of different emotions and thoughts with it as well.
Yes, yes, it does. It does. But one thing I will say is that I think when you come across the profile um, of your child, you will know. Um, we looked at that photograph, and there was something about it that just chimed with us. That there was a resonance, um, and yeah, I mean, fortunately, we were selected and matched to become James's parents, uh, and at that time, the balance between children and adopters was different. So there were actually 8 families that were vying for him.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and they had his social workers had visited all of those.
Why? And you already kind of felt like that's our son.
Yes, yes. So I'm not quite sure how we would have felt had we been not selected.
No. We don't need to think about that
No,
though.
no, we
Because
don't.
you were. So you got matched to James, and obviously you got approved for the match because he's your son as an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
What
The,
was
the,
that
the
like?
Well, we went to matching panel, so a very similar setup to the approval panel, except that we were being asked questions really about how we were likely to parent James
Hmm.
specifically, based on the difficulties that he'd been through. Um, and I remember it was actually the medic that was on the panel, said that you do realise that he's quite a difficult young boy. And
Wow.
we said, yeah, 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 that's not the problem. It's not a problem. Little did we know.
But at that time, you knew what you knew and you felt.
Still positive,
Yeah.
still positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then how did you meet him? How did you meet James?
Introductions. Um,
Mm.
Nothing really prepares you for these. They're so emotional.
Yeah.
They really are. Um, we went. He came from an area 120 miles away from home,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and had to move for his own safety.
Hmm.
Um, so we actually went up to the area the day before and stopped over. And I remember um, sitting in the travel lodge, a matter of 3 miles away from his foster home, thinking, my
Wow.
son is 3 miles away, the person I'm going to bring up for the rest of my life,
That's giving me
person I'm going to
goosebumps.
call son. Yeah, yeah, it's surreal, absolutely surreal.
So you had to wait all night
I
then.
did, I did,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And yes, we went fairly early the following morning and met him for the first time in the foster home.
Wow.
Um, Relatively briefly, it was only an hour or so,
Hmm.
during which time he took our shoes off, threw them down the hall.
Okay.
Um, he was excited.
Yeah.
He was excited, but I'm guessing pretty nervous as well,
Yeah.
as we were.
Yeah. And that, I think, that first introduction is always brief because it is so overwhelming just for everybody involved, isn't it? Just...
It is. So during the course of that week, we then spent more and more time with James, initially in the foster home. And then we sort of went for a walk and took him to the local recreation ground and had a play on the climbing frame, etc. And then we went out a bit further with the foster mom. And then by the end of the week, we were taking him out to places on our own. And there were some challenges when we got to that point.
Oh.
It wasn't always straight, but we got the basis that we could move forward. I think is probably best way of putting it.
Yeah, you knew it was going to be difficult, but you knew you were committed to carrying on.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then at the beginning of the following week, it was all reviewed, and we were given the go ahead to bring him home.
Oof.
So that drive 120 miles back with a very, very full car of toys and son. And I will always remember the first day here at home. It was a beautiful spring day, and we spent part of the day just out in the back garden on the lawn on a blanket, and then in the afternoon, I spent at the kitchen table fixing his Thomas the Tank Engine. And I had to strip it down and repair the gearbox, and it wasn't entirely straightforward. And he was sort of leaning over it with me, and I was explaining what I was doing and put it all back together again, and it worked. And I felt such a sense of achievement that having done that for him, I had gone up in his estimation. Not this random guy who'd driven him 120 miles down the motorway, but I'd fixed his toy. And that meant a lot.
That's made me really well up, Jonathan, to be honest. No,
sorry, Lee.
No, it's,
It's little things like that make such a difference. And as I will go on to say, that quite often it was the little things which made the difference to us.
Yeah.
Because moving forward, we had something like a 3-week honeymoon where he was fantastic. And then he really started to go downhill, and he was very, very angry. And we stood the brunt of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
An awful lot had happened in his young life. He'd spent 3.5 years in a very unsuitable environment.
Mm-hmm.
He'd witnessed an awful lot he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
He'd been neglected. But on top of all of that, he'd had only relationships that he had with adults ruptured.
Yeah.
And he'd ended up with us. So that's who he took it out of.
Mm-hmm.
But we were very fortunate. We raised the issues with social workers. So at this point, he's still very much a looked after child. So there's a lot of supervision of the situation from both his social worker and our adoption worker. So we raised these issues very quickly, and they put in place some therapy, which helped enormously. And over the period of about 12 months, the anger died away. Not completely, but certainly to a much more manageable state. So, yeah, I mean, one of my top tips is to fully engage with professionals around you. It's very important. If you have any difficulties, raise them, and they will help you deal.
How did that feel for you and Dawn, that shift from honeymoon period, which does happen, and I think can lull people into a full sense of got this, like we're just gonna smash it for the next however many years. But how did it feel for you both?
It wasn't easy.
No.
Wasn't easy. We had to. I think we relied upon each other
Hmm.
very much. Um, we have always had an open dialogue between us about how we were parenting, and I think at that point, in fact, probably even now, I don't think it's a day that goes by that we don't talk to each other about how we're dealing with something associated with James.
Yeah.
Um, that
Yeah.
has always been there, um, and also the people around us as well. They've been very supportive. At that time, I still had my mom, and I can remember after a particularly tough day with him, going and visiting her, and she was very reassuring and you know, said, "You can get through this. You can get through this. You can't give up on it."
And she was right.
She was dead right.
So, I mean, you've touched on it really, that the challenges kind of came not very long into being a family. But can you tell us a little bit more about the challenges and the rewards of being an adoptive family? Obviously, only sharing what you feel comfortable to, but just.
Well, of course, in most ways, it's completely like being a birth family,
Hmm.
um, but with layers on top. I think that's the best way I can
Yeah.
describe it.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, from the outside, externally, we are like any other normal inverted commas family, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Um, so that's great, um, but um, the challenges have largely been dealing with the after effects of the trauma that he'd been through. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I remember when issues um, first occurred, speaking to our social worker and saying, "Is love enough to get us through this?"
Good
Uh,
question.
and she said, "No." She was very honest with us. No. And it has taken a lot more than just love to get us through.
Hmm.
But wow, it has been worth it. It's been a long haul. We've had to advocate for him throughout, often at school.
Yeah.
Um, we've had to completely relearn the parenting handbook. Um, Therapeutic parenting looks very, very different to conventional parenting.
Yeah.
Both Dawn and I come from, I would say, fairly traditional
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
and that's our natural parenting style, and it doesn't work.
No.
The child that's been traumatized, so we've had to learn ourselves a completely different style, and that is often at odds to what people around us think we should be doing.
Oh yeah.
um, but it's worked, and we now have the greatest of relationships with James. Um, he's turned out to be um, a gentle, fine young man with a good moral compass. He's sociable. Um, People around him love him, um, and without our intervention, without the intervention of the looked after system and us in the long term, if he had stayed in his birth family environment, I fail to think how he would have ended up.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
Certainly on the wrong side of the law. Um, he had a very, very different life.
Yeah. And having met James, he is genuinely a beautiful soul.
He is.
Like he's,
Yes.
and that is testament to the commitment I think that he's had from you and Dawn, because having known you both for quite a while now, and having heard sometimes the challenges, it it hasn't been easy to stay committed all of the time. I don't think, or I wouldn't have found it easy all of the time to stay committed. I think sometimes I would have thought, oh, I can't do this. You stood by him.
There have been many times, but with support, we've got through.
Therapeutic parenting is much easier said than done, I think, Jonathan. It's you can read it and get it and think, yeah, I see why. But putting it into practice when it goes against your natural blueprint of parenting, and I think it can be really difficult to do.
It is. It is. Um, you have to pick your battles. You have to be
Mm.
prepared to walk away. Be prepared to take things on the chin.
But yeah, it did change your relationship with James, I think, didn't it?
It has done. Yes. Yes. In the latter years, we've very much been involved with using DDP techniques,
Okay.
and they have been transformative. Um, Nowadays, the playfulness aspect of it is a sense of humour,
Yeah,
both from him and from us. So we will very often laugh at things, and we can now talk to him about how he was in his early days with us, and he will acknowledge how difficult he was, and we
yeah.
laugh about it. It's the relationship has gone full circle.
And as he's moving into adulthood, how beautiful and important that your relationship has deepened at a time when he's going into a new stage of his life. And obviously you and Dawn are, but as a young adult, he's going into adulthood with his mum and his dad right there and connected with him. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't see him immediately moving away from us. I think he's going to be with us for a while.
I think he might be too.
Yes, he has life quite cushy.
Yeah, he knows where his bread's buttered, Jonathan. He knows.
Yeah,
He's not silly, is he?
no,
Um, but that you know that and can prepare for that is better.
yeah, oh yeah.
So I suppose, really, to round it off, Jonathan, and I think this is a difficult question in some ways, but what advice would you give to people who are thinking about starting the adoption process? And I say it might be difficult because it's kind of asking you to pinpoint specific bits of advice, and you could write a book about it. But what advice might you give people?
Um, I would certainly say engage with professionals throughout. They're there to help. Be honest about your strengths and weaknesses. We all have them.
Mm,
Um, and if you manage to fool yourself, your social worker, and the panel, you won't be able to fool a child.
that's very wise.
Make the best use of the preparation process. It's there for a reason. It's very useful to be able to go through those thought processes.
Mm.
Um, and finally, have fun and enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Jonathan.
A heartfelt thank you to Jonathan for sharing such a moving and deeply personal journey. His story is a powerful reminder that adoption is not just a process, it's a lifelong commitment, one built on love, resilience, and the courage to grow together as a family. These conversations matter. If this conversation resonated with you, please leave a review, or if you'd like to share your story or have us discuss a certain topic, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.